everyone. Today I would like to talk about a book that I've been reading. It's called Thriving with Adult ADHD. Um, I'm not medically diagnosed that I have ADHD, but I do share some of the symptoms. And you can look up online, and there's online quizzes you can take where they would tell you if you have ADHD or not. But I always advise you to seek doctor's diagnosis because it's more official. So just take it with a grain of salt. There's a section in the book called there are some key traits of people with emotional resilience. So emotional resilience is it's a very fancy term. Um, it's very difficult to achieve as well. So my take of emotional resilience is, do you have the willpower and the bravery to pull through a very difficult time? And are you able to remain, um, remain clear-headed and remain calm and seek through help, seek help and pursue that process, even though it's difficult. So the key traits of people with emotional intelligence they're broken down to different bullet points. So the first one is they are able to hear criticism from others and from themselves without melting in self-defeat or burning up emotional wildfire. So I think we can all remember their time, usually when you were younger, you hear criticism from somebody and you didn't think that was right, you didn't agree with it, and you respond in a very not nice way. That eventually hurt both parties. So first, let's just be reasonable that we have all done that, and it is okay, right? It is okay if you haven't, um, if you have only done it a few times. But you absolutely have to learn from that experience, right? Because that is definitely not the right way to react. It does not help you or the other person. It makes the situation much more difficult. So, how do you refrain from, getting yourself into a self-defeat mode or burning up in emotional wildfire? Is you are able to recognize that situation. This is a situation that's coming at me that I have been through before, where I didn't do very well, right? It's coming again, and I need to do something different. So that's the first step, right? And it's such an important step because if you don't do that, you're just gonna run through the same course every single time, right? You're gonna get hurt, and you're gonna hurt the other person's feeling, and then there's a lot of ripple effect after that. So being able to recognize it's one of those moments, it's very important. Even if you don't know how to deal with it, but you have to know that moment is coming, it's here. So the second step is, okay, I do recognize those moments, but how do I what should I do to avoid an embarrassing situation or to avoid uh, working myself up? Is you can take a pause and recognize that emotion, which is the first step. Let that emotion run through its course because it's not gonna take a long time. Let that emotion run through its course before you respond, right? So if you need more time, just be honest and say, I need more time, right? If you need to ask clarifying questions, ask clarifying questions. Maybe it's a misunderstanding. So it's important for you to ask that person more questions, obtain more information so that you can make a determination whether how to react. So ask more questions, get more information. If you need more time, say I need more time. Let's reschedule for another time, which would allow you to digest that emotion and prevent you from saying something hurtful. So I guess the last step is, how do you digest that emotion, right? It's a very negative emotion. So how do you digest it? I guess the first step is you have to tell if it is, right, if that person is reasonable or not, or is that person well intentioned or no? Because some people can be bad intentioned, right? They will set unachievable expectation and they're gonna sit there and watch you fail. So you're gonna recognize those pitfalls, and then your reaction would be, you have to find a way to communicate to them that this is nothing something that's achievable, and what's achievable is what, or if that communication is difficult or if it is impossible, backup plan, option B. Um, so the second one is people with emotional resilience are able to use support of others to gain strength. So usually the people with good intention who point out your shortcomings or your um, area of improvement, they should be able to offer some advice, right? Um, you shouldn't rely on that person to give you a solution, because I can tell you that 99% of the time that person will not have a solution readily available for you, because that's a hard part. And also we have different background, right? We grew up in different family, we're instilled of different values, we form different philosophy for our life, we have different education and work experience. So it's very difficult for a person to, give you a full-fledged solution to solve your problem. You are responsible for doing that. However, that person should be able to offer some help. Since they pointed it out, they better offer some help, right? They can offer their point of view, and then you can seek more points of view from more people, and then assess them, evaluate them, and see which makes sense, and break them down into executable items so that you can incorporate into your daily life and make a noticeable change. So that's my view. The third is they have an optimistic view of outcomes while remaining realistic. So it's not that they have always to be optimistic, but they are optimistic 75% of the time. The time that they are not optimistic is things that's completely out of their control, right? They're brought into a project where it's already running in the worst shape ever. It's out of their control to fix it. They can improve it, but it's impossible to bring it back to track. Then they have to be reasonable and realistic and point it out before shit happens that this is not going to end up well, right? They have to give that escalation, or have to bring it to the bear. The fifth is they face their challenge and fears rather than constantly avoiding them. So it definitely takes a lot of like willpower, almost like you have to be brave, like physically you can appear muscular and you're very athletic, but mentally you can be very vulnerable and very weak, right? So that mental power is something that everyone needs a little bit of exercise to improve. is when you hear challenges, when you have fears, how do you deal with it? Are you clear-minded enough to formulate solution to make it better, to overcome it, or are you just completely melting down, right? Because I think one of my way, and it certainly doesn't apply to everybody, is I would think it as like I would elevate myself out of my body, like literally, because if I'm that person taking that blame, I would not be able to, you know, to really think with a clear head because I'm too emotionally charged. So how do you elevate it? You think it as you're not you. You're just a third person, right? If this problem happens to a third person, happens to others, you may not think it's a problem, right? It doesn't bother you as much as it happens to you. And you will have a clear mind of seeing this objectively and give some advice and help that person improve. And sometimes you have to do that, is you have to almost withdraw yourself from that person and then see it from like a, like a high level perspective. That really helped me. Like it helped a lot of my, you know, helped me through mental breakdowns. All right, the next bullet point is people with emotional and resilience take care of their physical well-being. So it's undeniable that physical well-being and mental well-being are closely connected. You can feel that when you are mentally unstable, it affects your body, that you can feel it. And when you are, physically unhealthy, it also affect your mentality. So it is very important for you to find a way to keep fit and keep on, maybe not athletic. Not everyone is made to do sports, but um, you have to find a way to be able to exercise. Maybe it's a 30 minutes walk, or an hour yoga, whatever floats your boat, right? Not everyone wants to run all the time, um, but there you must be able to find a way to do something. It can be just clean your house, right? If you do it strategically, it can count as a sports. So keep going. So they remain flexible and open to new ideas and perspectives. And I often hear that we cannot be flexible or we cannot be open to new ideas because we're running out of time, right? We have um, a deadline that we have to meet, or else something's gonna happen. So I think the timing is very important. If you know that you're running out of time and changing gear is impossible, so just finish that, right? Meet the deadline, and I'm sure after you meet the deadline, you have some time, right? Many times you're not, it's not ramping up right away. You have some downtime where you can do your um, postmortem analysis, what you have done right, what you have done wrong, and what could have you done to make it better. So that's the time that you should use to um, to think, right? To think about new ideas, to develop new ways of doing work. Maybe to automate things, to make things that's more efficient. So just don't misuse that time. Use don't be going on social media during that time. You should really use the time wisely to think about innovation. And then the next is they listen to criticism and use it as information for growth. So again, back to willpower. Is you have to be mentally stable to process information that's provided to you and turn into executable actions. to better yourself. So, elevating yourself is important because you can see it from a person's perspective and then develop ways that works for you and timing that works for you, right? If you're trying to improve on something that's major, a week is definitely not enough. You're going to give yourself some time, right? Whether that's 1 month or 2 or 3 or even a year, right? Every week there's a milestone to hit. So develop those milestones. Put together a piece of paper, information on a piece of paper with the milestones, like just like you're managing project if you have managed project before. So next is they are persistent in their endeavor when faced with challenges and setbacks. So many people have no problem of developing those plans of improvement, but they have problems following it through. Things get in the way, new deadline, new project, new engagement, and they just forget about what they have promised to themselves 2 weeks ago. So writing it down and reviewing it every day is super important. You can do that if you're commuting to work, right? You can do that during commuting. It's the best time to do that because it's in the morning and it's in the evening. You can prepare for your day by reading your list and then you can reflecting on it at the end of the day. If you're working from home, right? I'm sure you have time that you can find probably more easily because you're not supervised physically. So you should find time, right? You can use the time that you play on your phone for reviewing that list. Am I doing what I'm supposed to do, right? Writing it down. Um, so yeah, so I guess we can all find time if we want to. That comes back to willpower is are we determined enough to do something? The next one, they are empathetic to others and their viewpoints. So being able to relate to one another is a very important trait. It's you will see that let me use a corporation setting, right? If you don't work, you may not find it very relevant, but if you do work in a corporation or a big organization, you probably find it very, very relating. Is that when you get to a certain point of your career, it almost feels like you're hitting a threshold or ceiling that you cannot go over anymore unless you learn certain skills. And one of those skills is communication. And where does communication come from? Is being able to understand each other. So being empathetic, right? That is a very important trait. Is being able to see things from another person's eyes or perspective is very important because when you communicate, the goal is that you need to get that person on the same page with you. And it's very challenging, especially if you're talking to a person who comes from a completely different way of life. It is very challenging to get that person on the same page, right? And you don't want to do it using hierarchical force, right? Oh, because I'm above you, you have to do what I do or else, blah, blah, blah. You want to do it in a respectful way because you want to win that person over, not to threat that person. You're going to be fired if you don't do this. Well, not saying that you shouldn't do that. It's probably the last resort. But how do you win people over if, you know, in a respectful way is you have to be able to understand them and you have to be empathetic to others. So that's one of the important traits of emotional resilient people. The second to the bottom is they accept change is part of life, so they work to adapt rather than fight all changes. So fight and flight is all native to us because we're all human beings. And the reason that we are existing today is because we fall, right? We flighted. When we sense danger, we know it's time to escape, to run. But that applies to old days, right? That applies when many, years ago we had to do that. But now there's very limited situation that you really have to run away from a bad encounter, more mentally than physically. Okay, so one of the things that you need to train yourself is it's modern day now. There's it's very rare that I have to run away from a situation. It does happen, but it is very rare. So I need to change my mindset to avoid having to run away, right? So I have to train myself to really listen and wait for the other person to finish their point of view, and then assess that, evaluate that, and turn into things that you can do to improve, to better yourself, right? So avoid um, fight or flight, and let the other person finish, and you know incorporate how to break it down to little parts where you can incorporate into your life. The last one is they pause and are thoughtful rather than constantly impulsive. We all have impulse, whether that's buying a new purse, a new pair of shoes, or new playing station. um, they're there. But how do we resist the impulse is we don't react fast. We give it enough time. We let that impulse run its course. Usually, you know, why do we say sleep on something? Is because we give it a night of thoughts. We know, oh, it is not necessary, or it is not worth my time, or it is not worth my money. You change your mind. So also, right, when you face criticism, think about it, right? Don't react right away and be self aware. Hey, I'm in that situation again where I'm receiving negative comments. Um, you know, what I'm gonna do. And one of the best ways is don't do anything, right? Instead of just responding right away, don't do anything. Let the silence take effect so that you have the time to process. If you need more time, just say, I need more time. Can we talk tomorrow? Right? So you can really take the time to think about it, talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to people that you trust and you love to help you formulate a strategy. If you don't understand what they're talking about, make sure you ask more questions, right? Um, Obtain more information to make it clear, or have that person write it down, or you know, we all have Copilot now, transcripting that conversation so that you can have written form, you can act to it. One thing that I find very important is write something down. When something is not written, it's not done. That's my philosophy. So today I went through 11 bullet points of key traits of people with emotional resilience. I hope that's helpful to you. I know it's a long journey, and we are all working very hard to develop the emotional resilience. Um, we're all on our way. There's never a time that you are good enough. Unfortunately, I think there's always, things that you can work on and you can improve. And that's the beauty of life is you can always learn something, right? It's especially for a person that's have to be stimulated intellectually. Being able to learn and to grow is very exciting. It's part of life. So I hope you um, like what I'm talking about. It's not tax or tech. It's kind of soft skill, but I enjoy talking about it. I think it really helps me clear my mind, help me go through my thoughts. I hope it does the same to you as well. If you want to hear more topic, let me know in the comments section below. Thank you. See you next time. Bye.